Peppa Pig, the fancy dress party. Peppa and George are having a fancy dress party. All their friends are invited. Peppa is dressed as a fairy princess and George is a dinosaur. All the guests are arriving. Rebecca Rabbit is dressed as a carrot and Susie Sheep has come as a nurse. "Hello, Susie," says Daddy Pig. "Have you just come from the hospital?" "I'm not a real nurse," says Susie Sheep. "It's just pretend." "Hello, Susie," says Peppa. "I'm Princess Peppa. You must bow when you speak to me." Susie Sheep bows. "Woof, woof. I'm a pirate. Shiver me timbers," says Danny Dog. "I'm a clown," says Pedro, tooting his horn. "Rebecca, why are you dressed as a carrot?" Danny asks. "Because I like carrots," says Rebecca. George does his best dinosaur roar and scares everybody. Peppa is playing by herself. She pretends the mirror is magic. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" "You are, Peppa," she giggles. It's time to judge the fancy dress competition. As it's Peppa's party, says Daddy Pig, she can be the judge and decide who has the best costume. The guests show off their outfits. "I'm a pirate, shiver me timbers," says Danny Dog. "I'm a nurse who makes people better," says Susie Sheep. Candy Cat waves her wand at Peppa. "I'm a witch and I can turn you into a frog," she says. "Meow." "Well, I'm a fairy princess and I can turn you into a frog," cries Peppa. It is time to announce the winner. "Everyone's costume is very good," says Peppa, "but the winner is me." "Peppa, you can't pick yourself. You're the judge," whispers Mummy Pig. "Oh, can't I?" asks Peppa. "You have to pick another winner," Mummy Pig says quietly. "Okay, the carrot wins," says Peppa. "Hooray! Hooray! Rebecca Rabbit has won the fancy dress competition." "Thank you," Rebecca says. Peppa loves fancy dress parties. Everyone loves fancy dress parties. The end. Peppa's best birthday party. It was Mandy Mouse's birthday, and she was having her party at Cheese World.
Wow!
"What is Cheese World, Mandy?" asked Peppa.
"It's the most fun place ever,"
replied Mandy.
"There's a cheese river and a cheese mountain, and best of all, there's a cheese castle."
"Wow!" everyone gasped. When they arrived for the party, Mummy Mouse took Mandy and her friends to a huge cheese-shaped arch. "Welcome to Cheese World," announced Miss Rabbit. "Have any of you been here before?"
"I have,"
cried Mandy.
"It's amazing."
Wow!
"Oh, hello, Mandy," said Miss Rabbit. "Nice to see you again." Everyone followed Miss Rabbit past some cheese trees and cheese bushes. "So," said Miss Rabbit, "everything at Cheese World is about cheese," cheered Mandy. "That's right," said Miss Rabbit. "And we'll start by sailing on the river of cheese." Mandy cheered again. When they got to the cheese river, 2 little cheese boats were waiting.
All aboard,
called Mandy. And hold tight, added Miss Rabbit, as the boats bobbed along.
Miss Rabbit,
said Peppa.
are these boats made of real cheese?
No, Peppa, replied Miss Rabbit. They are made from pretend cheese. Oh, said Peppa.
We are now entering Cheese Mountain,
said Miss Rabbit as they sailed inside a cave.
Is it made of real cheese?
asked Peppa. No, replied Miss Rabbit. But this is what it would be like to sail through a cheese mountain.
Wow!
Ooh! cried Mandy and her friends. If cheese mountains existed, finished Miss Rabbit. After the boat ride, Mr. Rabbit showed the group his cheese aeroplane ride. Mandy explained what to do.
If you pull the lever, the plane goes up,
she said.
And if you push the lever, the plane goes down.
Once the children were safely in their airplanes, Mr. Rabbit started the ride. Up, up and away, he cried.
This is brilliant,
said Molly Mole.
Look, there's a sun made of cheese,
Mandy called.
And the clouds are cottage cheese,
gasped Susie.
I can see the whole world,
said Peppa.
It's all cheese.
Was that fun? asked Mummy Mouse once the children finished flying.
Yes!
Everyone cheered happily.
I told you Cheese World is the most fun place ever,
cried Mandy. Next, it was time to visit the Castle of Cheese. Hello, Mandy, said Grampy Rabbit when they arrived at the entrance. Have you told your friends about my Castle of Cheese?
I told them it was the best bit,
said Mandy. It is, said Grampy Rabbit. It's where we get to smell real cheese. No pretend cheese here. Once they were inside, Grampy Rabbit said, Let's start by smelling a mild cheese. Molly and Pedro Pony both took a good sniff. Said Molly.
This smells nice.
I like it too, said Pedro. Grampy Rabbit sniffed the cheese, but he didn't think it had any smell at all. Now for something a little bit stronger, said Grampy Rabbit, taking the cover off a second piece of cheese. He took a big sniff. That's more like it, he said. A stinky one. Pedro sniffed the cheese. He cried.
It smells like my daddy's socks.
And now, said Grampy Rabbit, it's time for the strongest cheese in the whole world. Grampy Rabbit carefully lifted the cover off the third cheese and took a huge sniff. Now that's what I call cheese, he said. Next it was Mandy's turn to smell the super strong cheese.
It's the nicest smell I've ever smelled,
she said. You love smelling cheese, don't you, Mandy? Said Mummy Mouse.
Yes,
cried Mandy.
But I love eating it even more.
Funny you should say that, said Mummy Mouse. Mummy Mouse brought out a cake covered in candles.
Wow!
It's birthday cake time, she said.
Cheesecake!
Gasped Mandy.
My favourite!
Hooray! Everyone cheered.
This is the best birthday ever,
cried Mandy.
And this is the best birthday party ever,
said Peppa.
Happy birthday, Mandy.
The end. Peppa's Pizza Party. It is lunchtime at Peppa's house.
Can we make pizzas?
Peppa asks. George loves pizza. So do Mummy and Daddy Pig. Peppa is excited to start. But first, everyone must wash their hands. They use soap and water to get all clean. When they are done washing, they gather ingredients. To make our pizzas, says Daddy Pig, we need flour, tomato, chimes in Mummy Pig, cheese, continues Daddy Pig, and toppings. But wait, there's something missing.
George likes pineapple on his pizza,
Peppa says. Pineapple? Daddy Pig repeats. On pizza? I think that's against the law. Peppa laughs. Daddy Pig is being silly. It is not against the law to put pineapple on pizza. Mummy Pig sprinkles a little flour on the table so that the dough doesn't stick. Then, with their clean hands, Peppa and George knead the dough. Bam, bam, bam!
I am big and strong,
Peppa says.
And George is big and strong too.
Next, they make the dough into 4 balls. These will become 4 pizza pies. Mummy Pig rolls the dough balls flat with her rolling pin.
Oh,
says Peppa.
they look like pizzas now.
Mummy and Daddy Pig make a sauce with the tomatoes. Then Peppa and George smooth it over the dough.
I like making pizza,
Peppa says.
It's so fun.
Now it is time to decorate the pizzas.
Can we make happy faces on top?
Peppa asks. Of course we can, replies Daddy Pig. I'll use mushrooms to make eyes and olives for the smile. And I'll use onions for the eyes and basil for the smile, says Mummy Pig. Peppa uses sweet corn for the smile and little tomatoes for the eyes. George has pineapple for the eyes and cheese for the smile. Mummy Pig puts on her oven mitts. Then she places the pizzas in the oven to bake. When the pizzas are done, Peppa, George, Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig eat in the garden. Their pizzas are very good.
These are the best pizzas in the world,
says Peppa. Peppa loves pizza. Everyone loves pizza. The end. Peppa Pig, Peppa's Pumpkin Party. It is a lovely autumn day, and Peppa and George are getting ready for their Halloween party. First, they scoop out a pumpkin to make a lantern. Then Mummy Pig fixes a candle inside and lights it.
Ooh, lovely,
sighs Peppa. Mummy and Daddy Pig help Peppa and George put on their costumes. Peppa is a witch and George is a dinosaur. Peppa cackles. Very witchy, says Mummy Pig.
Dinosaur! Arr!
Growls George. Peppa and George's friends have arrived. Everyone is wearing a spooky Halloween costume. Suddenly, they hear a howl. Oh!
What was that?
asked Peppa.
Only me,
laughs Danny Dog.
I'm a werewolf.
Peppa notices that Emily Elephant has a green face. "What are you, Emily?" she asks.
I'm an alien. Blub, blub, blub.
She replies, laughing.
And Edmund is a ghost. Actually, I'm a paranormal apparition,
corrects Edmund.
That's a clever clog's ghost.
Daddy Pig appears at the door. "Welcome to the party, everyone," he booms. "Come and have some pumpkin pie." Inside, the house is decorated with balloons, cobwebs, and hanging toy bats. Even Madame Gazelle has come to the Halloween party. "Hello," says Susie Sheep.
I've come as a vampire.
"A vampire," sighs Madame Gazelle. "That reminds me of home." How strange. Madame Gazelle doesn't seem to have a reflection in the mirror. Daddy Pig puts on some music for everyone to dance to. "I love pumpkin parties," Peppa shouts.
I love dressing up,
says Susie Sheep. "And everyone loves pumpkin pie," says Daddy Pig. The end. Peppa Pig Sports Day. Today is School Sports Day. Peppa and her friends are all here. First event is running. The children have to run as fast as they can. "Ready, steady, go," says Madame Gazelle. Susie and Peppa are chatting about who can run the fastest. Rebecca Rabbit is in the lead. Peppa and Susie are right at the back. Rebecca Rabbit wins the race. "Hooray!" Everyone cheers. Peppa and Susie are last. "It's not the winning that matters," Daddy Pig reminds them, "but the taking part." "The next event is the long jump," says Madame Gazelle. George and Richard Rabbit have to run and then jump as far as they can. Whoever jumps the furthest is the winner. Ready, steady, go! Oh dear, Richard Rabbit has jumped further than George. "Hooray!" shout all his friends. George is not happy. "Remember, George," says Peppa, "it's not the winning that matters, but the taking part." The next race is the relay. Daddy Pig is in the lead. He hands the baton to Peppa. "Thank you, Daddy. You did very well. Now it is my turn," begins Peppa. "Stop talking and run," snorts Daddy Pig. Emily Elephant is the winner. Everyone cheers. "Hooray!" Peppa comes in last. She is not feeling happy. It is the last event of the day, the tug of war. Boys against girls. "The girls will win," snorts Peppa. "No, they won't," says Danny. Everyone is pulling so hard the rope breaks. "The result is a draw. Both teams win," says Madame Gazelle. Everybody cheers. "Hooray!" "I love school sports day," snorts Peppa, "especially when I win a prize." The end. Peppa Pig, Super Peppa. It was all about me week at playgroup. "Now, children," began Madame Gazelle, "I'd like you to start by each drawing a picture of yourself." "Ooh!" cried Peppa and her friends, grabbing the paints, crayons and glitter. When they'd finished, they put their pictures on the wall. "We look very important on the wall," said Peppa proudly. "You are very important," replied Madame Gazelle. "I'm a bit wonky," said Susie Sheep, giggling. Next, Madame Gazelle asked the children to think about what they all like to do. I like bouncing, said Zoe Zebra, jumping up and down. I like standing on one leg, said Freddy Fox, trying to balance. I like laughing, said Candy Cat, rolling on the floor and giggling. Meow. Ow! Ow! I like howling really loudly, howled Wendy Wolf. Lovely, said Madame Gazelle. You all like to do lots of different things. Now, think about what you are good at, said Madame Gazelle, and what you want to be when you grow up. I'm good at being clever, said Edmund Elephant. I'm going to be an astronaut and an anthropologist. I'm very good at being brave, said Danny Dog. I'm going to be a champion skateboarder. Whoosh! I'm good at eating carrots, cried Rebecca Rabbit. I'm going to be a carrot. Next week, I'd like you all to come dressed as what you want to be when you grow up, said Madame Gazelle. Peppa put up her hand. But I don't know what I want to be, she sighed. How will I know what to dress up as? Don't worry, Peppa, said Madame Gazelle. You can dress as anything you like, even a carrot. Everyone giggled. But how do I choose? Asked Peppa. Why don't you talk to some grown-ups to see what they do? Suggested Madame Gazelle. They can help you decide. Okay, said Peppa. Just then, the doorbell rang and it was time to go home. Goodbye, everyone, said Madame Gazelle. See you next week. Goodbye, Madame Gazelle, called the children. The next day, Peppa asked Mummy Pig about her work. I write my stories on the computer, explained Mummy Pig. When I think of an idea, I go like this. Mummy Pig wrote an amazing story and read it to Peppa. Wow, Mummy, I want to be a writer just like you, said Peppa. You write super stories. You can be a writer, Peppa, said Mummy Pig. Why don't you try writing a story now? But what if I can't think of a story? Asked Peppa. You have to believe you can, said Mummy Pig. But what if people don't like it? Asked Peppa. You have to believe they will, said Mummy Pig. Okay, said Peppa. And she told Mummy Pig a wonderful story about a princess, a frog, and a little prince. What a super story, said Mummy Pig. You see, Peppa, when you believe you can do something, it helps you to do it. After lunch, Daddy Pig took Peppa to his muddy puddle jumping competition. I hope you win, Daddy, Peppa whispered. I might, replied Daddy Pig. I am a bit of an expert. Daddy Pig leapt high up into the air and landed with a perfect splash. He won the golden cup, and the crowd cheered, Hooray for Daddy Pig! Wow, Daddy, I want to jump in competitions just like you, cried Peppa. You're a super muddy puddle jumper. Why don't you try jumping now, Peppa, said Daddy Pig. But I'm not an expert like you, replied Peppa. You can be an expert, said Daddy Pig. You just have to practice. Daddy Pig helped Peppa practice jumping. Then Peppa leapt high up into the air and made an enormous splash. The crowd were covered in mud, and they cheered and cheered. Hooray for Peppa! That was amazing. Thank you, Daddy, said Peppa. Next, Peppa went to see Miss Rabbit. I hope you're ready for a busy day, Peppa, Miss Rabbit cried. Peppa followed her as she zoomed from one job to the next. They raced from the supermarket to the fire station, on to the museum, and then to the theatre. After that, Miss Rabbit took some visitors for a helicopter ride and sold everyone some yummy ice creams. Wow, Miss Rabbit, I want to be just like you and do lots of things, said Peppa, as Miss Rabbit drove everyone home on the train.
You're super at everything.
If you work hard, you can be good at anything, said Miss Rabbit.
Do I work hard?
asked Peppa. Yes, replied Miss Rabbit. You've been working hard with me all afternoon. You're super at everything, just like me. But when she got home, Peppa was confused. She still didn't know who to dress up as for playgroup.
Mommy, Daddy and Miss Rabbit are super at everything, George. And I want to be just like them, but how can I dress up as everything? Super potato!
Cheered George, soaring his toy through the air.
That's it, George!
cried Peppa, having a clever idea. She headed straight to her dressing up box. The next day at playgroup, all the children were dressed up. I see you've decided to be a superhero, Peppa, said Madame Gazelle.
I'm not a superhero, replied Peppa. I am super! Mommy, Daddy and Miss Rabbit said, if you believe in yourself, practice and work hard, you can be super at anything. And I do, so I'm Super Peppa.
Wonderful, Peppa, said Madame Gazelle. I mean, super!
Super Peppa!
Everyone cheered, racing over to the dressing up box. When they came back, they were all wearing super costumes, just like Peppa. Mammy Pig, Daddy Pig and Miss Rabbit had helped Peppa to be super. And now Peppa had helped everyone else to be super too. Super Peppa, super everyone! announced Madame Gazelle, swishing her cape from side to side. We are all super! The end. Peppa Pig, the biggest muddy puddle in the world. Once upon a time, Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig were tucking Peppa and George into bed.
There's so much rain,
Peppa said. That means there will be muddy puddles to jump in tomorrow, Mummy Pig smiled. The splish splash splosh of raindrops on the window sang Peppa and George to sleep, dreaming of muddy puddles. While Peppa and George slept, it rained. And rained. And rained. It rained so much that the next morning, when Daddy Pig ran out to jump in a muddy puddle, he landed straight in a massive pool of water. Oh, who put all this water here? Daddy Pig said as he swam back to the house.
And where are all the muddy puddles? Asked Peppa. Our house is like a desert island,
Peppa laughed, looking at all the water. Oh dear, Mummy Pig said. How will we get our food? Granny Pig and Grandpa Pig arrived on their boat. Ahoy there, Grandpa Pig said. Wonderful boating weather.
Do you need anything from the shop?
Granny Pig asked.
Can we come too?
Peppa said. Yes, then you can help to get shopping for everybody. Polly can be our shopping list. She's very good at remembering things, Granny Pig said, beaming at Polly. Who's a clever parrot?
Oh, who's a clever parrot?
Polly copied. Polly was good at copying what people said. Peppa George, Grandpa Pig, Granny Pig and Polly Parrot sailed across the water. It was almost as fun as jumping in a muddy puddle.
Each house was like its own desert island. They sailed from house to boat to submarine, asking if people needed anything from the shop. Do you need anything from the shop? Chocolate, please, Susie Sheep said. Sure, chocolate, Polly Parrot copied. A newspaper and a comic, please, Grandad Dog and Danny Dog said. Newspaper, comic, Polly Parrot copied. Cheese, please, Grampy Rabbit said. Short cheese, Polly Parrot copied. When Grandpa Pig's boat arrived at the supermarket, Miss Rabbit was all alone. Silly, isn't it? A little bit of rain and everybody stays at home. What can I get you? Polly has a list, Peppa said proudly. Ark! Polly Parrot opened her beak and said, Who's a clever parrot? Who's a clever parrot? Oh dear, Polly Parrot had forgotten the list. Peppa and George arrived back home in the evening. Did you have fun sailing with Grandpa? Mummy Pig asked. Yes, I remembered what everyone wanted, Peppa yawned. But there were no muddy puddles. George snorted in agreement. Maybe there will be some muddy puddles tomorrow, Daddy Pig said. The next morning the sun was shining brightly in the clear blue sky. Polly Parrot flew with a sprig of leaves in her beak to show them all that the water had gone. She landed on Grandpa Pig's boat that was now stuck on Peppa's front lawn. Oh, Granny Pig said, looking out from the boat. I wonder what kind of mess the flood has left. And what did they see? The houses that were once desert islands were now back to normal.
Wow!
Sitting on top of their hills. The water that Peppa and George sailed through was now gone. And instead, at the bottom of Peppa and George's hill was the biggest muddy puddle in the world. The end.
Peppa Pig, Peppa's school day. Peppa is going to school today. All of her friends are there. Today we have a new student, says Madame Gazelle. This is Emily Elephant. Emily is shy. She does not know what to say. Everyone is excited to meet Emily. Can I show Emily how we do show and tell? asked Peppa. Of course, says Madame Gazelle. Peppa tells the class about her teddy bear.
Wow!
Next, it's free time. What would you like to do today? Peppa asks Emily. There is painting, clay or building blocks. Emily chooses building blocks. Peppa shows Emily how to stack the blocks. You put one on top of another, says Peppa. Like this? asks Emily.
Wow!
Wow, say the children. Emily Elephant is good at stacking blocks.
Hooray!
Next, it's playtime. Come on, Emily, shouts Peppa. At playtime we go outside, says Candy Cat.
Meow.
All the children run outside. First, they go down the slide. Whee! Then they play a game. Who is the loudest? asked Peppa. They all make loud sounds. What a lot of noise.
Emily, you try,
says Peppa. Emily makes a noise like a trumpet. She is the loudest of all.
Can you spin the hula hoop?
Susie Sheep asks Emily. Emily can spin the hula hoop. She is good at lots of things.
Wow.
But there is still one game left to play.
My favourite game is jumping in muddy puddles,
says Peppa.
That is my favourite game too,
shouts Emily. Peppa and Emily are so happy they are friends. What a nice day at school. The end.
Hi kids, did you have fun watching this video? Then like and subscribe for more.